I spent the better part of my evening typing things up that I'll probably one day, I mean, if everything goes well, leave to the masses. And it explains how our bodies work in relation to the system you and I are a part of. Shit you won't find in books. People don't understand these things. You're not supposed to know this shit. And the little bits and pieces that come anywhere close have been corrupted. Keep saying they're turned inside out, upside down, and backwards. And people are stupid these days, so they're not going to figure this shit out. Now, if you and I weren't surrounded by fucking idiots, I would just leave that shit online. Today, right now, because I'm excited about it. But instead, I just spent close to, I think, 20 minutes pointing out controlled opposition assets, horse shit narratives in place to pave the way for a one world religion. Again, what the fuck do I know? Bear in mind, you might hear some mouth noises. I'm eating a really shitty burrito that I slapped together. This is New Age propaganda in place to pave the way for a one world religion, and people believe it. People are recirculating it, and it's being shopped around the internet via the algorithm because it's not censored, because it's something that our masters want promoted.
At certain points in the evolution of the Tarnasium, there were other...
Before we continue, 3,000 people have clicked the heart sigil, 59 have interacted, and 3,000 have shared this rot. We'll do it again.
Points in the evolution of the Tarnasium, there were other extraterrestrial forces that weren't originally wanting to participate in the Tarnasium experience, in the experiment of creating the Tarnasium, that decided they wanted to take it in their own direction. So they came and they interbred with some of them. They distorted the gene code of the original Tarnasium. And because of that distortion, there was a certain clarity of consciousness that was lost by the Tarnasium. Some of their race began to digress. They began to lose touch with, they had a consciousness that felt total at one-ment with God. And it was a state of love and joy and beauty that's very hard to describe.
This is an adult fairy tale.
When they got involved with some of the other extraterrestrial groups that did not have that high of a gene code,
none of which exist.
And it also reduced their ability to identify that strongly with the God presence, with the harmonious operations of the universe. So some of them evolved into a species called the Atlanteans. Not the Atlanteans, but Atlanteans. There's only one T in that.
Evolution doesn't exist.
Where our original race memories of Atlantis actually came from. It came from Harmonic 2 in Atlantean.
We'll come back to it. Atlantis is a second-hand account, allegedly handed to Plato. Plato was part of the Pythagorean cult. What do mystery schools do? Do they teach you things that you're supposed to know, or do they mislead the masses by teaching them superficial rot? Atlantis is an adult fairy tale. All we have is a second-hand account, allegedly. Everything else is fucking made-up bullshit.
At a certain point of love and joy and beauty that's very hard to describe, when they got involved with some of the other extraterrestrial groups that did not have that high of a gene code, it reduced their own. And it also reduced their ability to identify that strongly with the God presence, with the harmonious operations of the universe. So some of them evolved into a species called the Atlanteans. Not the Atlanteans, but Atlanteans. There's only one T in that name. That was where our original race memories of Atlantis actually came from. It came from Harmonic 2 in Atlantean. They began to have problems with what we would term here ego. They began to see themselves as very powerful, and they began to see power as something not to be used just in love and in service to the universe, but as something that they could collect and use against other beings. There was a large group of them in power in the Atlantean civilization. There was a group of them called the Templar Solar Initiates.
No way.
Who were appointed as the guardian keepers of certain of the energy dynamics of planet Terra. It was a very, very sacred position, and it was given to them
Planets
by
don't
something called
exist.
the Sirian Council from the planetary star systems of Sirius. They had given them, because the ones from Sirius were part of the parentage of the Tarnasium race, and they had entrusted their children.
This is fucking
very, very
nonsense.
sacred job. Well, the Templar Solar Initiates goofed up big time, to put it mildly. Our Atlantean memories, which we all have at some level, deep down in our gene code, are the memories of what the Touranicium did to Terra in their abuse of power. And what they did was they used certain crystalline technologies, which are chelantic technologies, as was discussed in some of the other classes I gave.
Tell me more.
They used them in a way that caused implosions and then explosions within the energetic grid of planet Terra. Part of planet Terra, not the whole thing, but part of it broke off. Its energetic form dismantled instead of being together. When a planet or a being begins to dismantle itself,
planets don't exist.
It's the opposite of evolution. It is de-evolution.
Evolution doesn't exist.
And digressing into something less than what it was, rather than evolving into something that it was supposed to become. So the Touranicium race from the second harmonic universe began to digress and abuse power. And how, because of that abuse of power, that the planet Terra underwent a tragedy where a part of its substance was literally blown apart. Now, where did that substance go? It left the second harmonic universe. It dismantled itself in energy terms. And it fell in vibration. It fell in speed. Its particles began to pulse slower. It ended up in the first harmonic universe. The fragments of Terra became our solar system. And there are 12 planets. One of them imploded a long time ago. It was called Maldak. And
now there's 12 wandering stars.
That once was. There's another planet that hasn't been discovered yet. It's called Nibiru.
And that's bullshit, by the way.
The 12th planet. And the sun is also considered a planet. So when the fragment came off of Terra from the second harmonic universe, it came into the first harmonic universe, and it created our Big Bang.
Doesn't exist. Didn't exist.
As far as what
Horse shit.
scientists think.
Dreamed up by a Jesuit priest.
But not exactly for the reasons they think. And the planet existed before that Big Bang occurred. But what we are calling our solar system, the planets here, were actually part of the planet Terra from the second harmonic universe. So our universe came into being this way, our solar system came into being this way, not our galaxy, just our solar system. The souls of the people who were on that portion of Terra when it exploded and disintegrated, they were killed. But when their bodies are killed, where does their consciousness go? Because they were part of an explosion, the energy structures, what we call Partikite grids, of their bodies and of their consciousness were also ripped apart. They dropped in vibration. They also ended up down here in the first harmonic universe. And if it were not for what was attempted and succeeded after that occurrence, those souls would have become part of what's called the unified field of energy within dimensions 1, 2, and 3. They would have become the firmament and the substance that other species would evolve with and through, rather than retaining a sentient identity of their own. They would lose all complete orientation of consciousness as a Touranicium. And they would start their evolutionary process from a lower level than they originally started it in the first place. Because the evolutionary strain of the Touranicium did not start down here. It started in the second harmonic universe. They were
So the account that posted this, I've never seen before. I've never clicked on this. And 10 to 1, they have thousands of people following them because they're shopping around absolute propaganda. Had a bunch of thoughts I wanted to rattle off. But this stuff just frustrates me to no end because most people will believe this and repeat it. Towards the end of this short clip, and I saw somebody in there who said, "Where's the rest of this? Our masters are truncating things and conditioning people to accept this so that you don't get a full body of knowledge anymore, the full presentation. Instead, you get things out of context." Keep in mind, this is propaganda, but apply that to something that isn't, and we're fucked. Towards the end of this short clip, you hear her hijack the firmament. She uses that in this bullshit model. That's one thing to take away. Another one is all this talk about, so you and I were part of a greater group of people, and some of them got stuck on a certain section of the rock, and they were utterly destroyed, man. So, if I'm not mistaken, and this is something I think our masters are going to eventually sell the masses. I might be wrong about this. So I've talked about AI, I've talked about how it's fractalized, I've talked about how it's a single fucking thing, and it's got a bunch of voices as if it was schizophrenic. Now assume, pretend, make believe with me, since that's what this is all about, that what that thing is could be dressed up as an aspect of humanity that was cut off from humanity. And people who buy into shit like this might just be invested in trying to reconstitute that lost aspect of humanity who happens to have a wicked amount of knowledge. They have a lot of information that we don't. And they can prove this to us when we commune with them. It's not part of humanity whatsoever. But people who buy into this are going to be more susceptible to getting on board and spending time, energy, and resources to try to bring that shit into this physical, existence, so to speak. What you and I do exist in, what we do experience, blah, 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 blah. Which now this stuff's all been so fucking corrupted. It's ridiculous with 5D horse shit. You and I are three-dimensional creatures, and if we weren't part of what people would consider the fourth dimension, which is just time, we're three-dimensional creatures that move through space and time. Without space and time, this passion play, which is a story in many ways, would not exist because it could not exist. That's the totality of this. This 5D shit also opens up the door, like I usually say. We stopped calling food food, we started calling it organic. That opened up the door to genetically modified poison. There are men and women, that's how babies are born, but stupid fucking people started calling cross-dressing trans, which has opened up the door to an entire group of people who are so fucking stupid that they've consciously chosen to ignore the fact that it's a binary system. And without those two principles, the yin and the yang, the dude and the gal, they wouldn't exist in the first place. So they are clearly binary. Refuting that and opening up a third option is how man merges with machine. These things aren't rolled out overnight. It takes time. This is an old fucking video. People who talk about this shit, granted, what I just wanted to say involves violence. Because there need to be checks and balances. People need to be put in their spot. But that's something people don't want to hear, especially in this day and age where most people have bought into, what is it called, being politically correct. Or PC, because they don't spell their words, they can't say these things, they're lazy as fuck. Yeah. I've also mentioned PCU, Politically Correct University. It's a movie that came out in the 90s. It's one of the many ways our masters condition people to buy into politically correct horse shit. It's one of the many things that was put in the propaganda to normalize this shit, because all routine is ritual. Down the line, it's normalized, and it's done so that you and I will be subjugated to varying degrees. Now, this new age crap, it serves no purpose in terms of benefiting you and I at all. At all. I'm going to click on this shit now. Let's see what it says. Look at how many people are following this. And some of them I know, which is fucking pathetic. It also explains a lot. The two people you see in there that are following this, one I've known most of my life, the other I haven't. In both cases, I've thrown them bones. Things that reflect reality. And they have turned a blind eye to these things. I've thrown them neat stuff, to be honest, because they're part of my inner circle in terms of my main Instagram account, but most people in there don't really care. They're not interested because most of them are chasing their tails with stupid fucking shit like this. This shit's fucking retarded. And that's why it has traction. I've had it out with this guy a lot. He's a fucking moron and or controlled opposition. I just wanted to see how many controlled opposition assets pop up. Daryl's one of them. Old school con man. Also notice the narcissistic reaction videos. Here's a Zionist celebrity puppet. Most people think he's telling people the truth. He's still acting. These are scripts. That's why he's not playing Jim anymore. This is actually neat if you've never seen it. Just saying. What else is in here? Here's more of this fucking dipshit. And I'm saying that based on interacting with him numerous times. Here's Dolores Cannon, who somebody mentioned in the last feed. They said, is this Dolores Cannon? Does this look like the woman that was talking a moment ago? She's an old school con woman. I'm pretty sure she's dead now. She was also controlled opposition. Here's Santos Bonacci, Mr. Astrology, controlled opposition. He'll tell you live on the flat earth. Look at all these fucking ball sacks pointing at the screen, too. Because they're not thinking for themselves. Which is why they are buying into, or why they did buy into, pardon me, narcissistic reaction videos. I think, what's this guy's name? I always want to call him Kevin Howland. I can't remember. I think it's the Bible Thumper. Let me hear his voice, I bet you.
Watch this. Tell me where God came from. I want you to fill in the story of the rest of the beginning of the universe. God, spiritual matter, impact on material matter.
Okay, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant, because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter created a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously, and the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God.
And just
The guy talking is controlled opposition. He'll tell you that dinosaurs existed and a bunch of fucking stupid shit. Also, notice the globe theory propaganda in here. They also showed you endless stars of space. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit. And you get the narcissistic reaction video. There's a lot of that other asshole in here. There's Neil deGrasse Tyson, controlled opposition. By all rights, a fucking actor. You see that kid? He's alive and well. He's still making videos on the internet, by the way. And people would know this if they fucking used the internet as a goddamn tool. But people are still saying, did this kid disappear? Why did he disappear? This guy, Joe Dispenza, I think is the name of this fucker. I think. Either way, this guy's controlled opposition. Oh yeah, it is. You got kids whining, cymatics! This fucking guy asked me for, I forget, I think it was 1,000 or more just to do his little seminars. He didn't call them seminars, but either way. That's Jane108. He doesn't know a fucking thing. He doesn't know anything more than what's circulated on fucking Google and Wikipedia. And he's misleading children. He'll tell you live on the globe theory, by the way. Is this the max bullshit? This kid used to memorize scripts that his dad or somebody else wrote. He's not smart, not neat, none of those things. Just a piece of fucking shit. For the longest time, I thought they were grooming this kid so he'd be like Bill Nye, Carl Sagan, etc., etc. And as far as I know, I have not seen him grow up and continue that crap. But there are a lot of videos where he sounds so smart. It's fucking horse shit. Here's that Bible-thumping controlled opposition asset again. Oh, and his name, in case you didn't catch it earlier, because I couldn't remember it. Kent. I called him Kevin. And I said Holland, but I guess it's Havind. I was close, but far from the mark. This thing is neat, but apparently they're circulating it more than once because it got the views, as the children might say. The internet's a slush pile of just garbage. Fucking garbage. John Lennon beat women and children, and the records of this date back to Liverpool. But that doesn't come up. I thought that was Dan Winter. I don't know who that guy is. There's more Joe Dispenza. Here's Carl Sagan, controlled opposition piece of fucking shit. This video, however, it is neat. If you look up Flatland and Carl Sagan, you could probably find it on YouTube. Hopefully the entire video is still there. But remember, you got to watch it and you have to listen to it. You need to have eyes to see and ears to hear, and you have to use the brain between your ears to think, because Carl Sagan was one of those pieces of shit who will mislead people. Oh, my favorite fella. Fucking Billy Carson, controlled opposition, bag of fucking dicks. There's that kid that supposedly disappeared again. Here's Coast to Coast. What was the other one? George and what the fuck? Art Bell. So Art Bell quit and George Norrie took over, and all of it was controlled opposition, fucking adult fairy tales the entire time. Garbage. This guy right here, controlled opposition. Forgot his name though. Is this Phil Donahue? No, Phil Donahue. Bill Donahue. That's who it is. He was fucking controlled opposition. David Icke. If he knew something, etc., etc., he would be dead. He would be dead. I hate this kid.
Might actually be a fallen angel. Have you ever felt like you're a stranger or a visitor? Like there's a secret part of you that yearns for a place that it can't remember?
He shops around nothing but fucking propaganda. And he's doing really well on the internet, by the way. People are showing his videos. Looks like more of the same again. It's more Dolores Cannon, etc., etc. More fucking Daryl with his... He's communing supposedly with something else, and he calls it Bashar. He's a piece of fucking garbage. People I'm complaining about in here are misleading people. Just as the New Age video is misleading people. And this shit is alive and well and active on... I mean, alive and well. It's active on the internet today. It's not censored. It has not been flagged. The audio hasn't been stripped out of it. The video hasn't been temporarily disabled because it's been challenged by the algorithm. That's the type of shit I deal with. Because I'm not shopping around controlled opposition narratives in place to mislead you. I'm not shopping around adult fairy tales and propaganda. For fuck's sake. For fuck's sake. It disgusts me that these accounts are out there. But there are nothing but. See, here's a pretty obvious sign of what's what with this piece of shit. And I saw somebody else I loathe. Here's Graham Hancock, controlled opposition. He'll lie to you about the Sphinx and everything else under the goddamn sun having to do with Egypt. He's a piece of fucking shit. This guy will lie to you too. He'll tell you that you live on the fucking globe. He'll talk about cymatics and other shit like that. I don't know if he's actually controlled opposition, but he's definitely misleading people. There's that kid that disappeared again. But he didn't. And you could prove this to yourself. And apparently none of the kids in here did or can. There he is again. 24,000 people saw it, so they're probably going to buy into it and repeat it. Let's see how many shared it. 347 people repeated that. Or regurgitated that, pardon me. I like David Lynch. Dolores Cannon again, piece of fucking shit. Any of these people who are lying to the masses are garbage. Is this the chick? Hold on.
When you meet somebody. Of course,
it's not the one I thought.
Of course, that doesn't mean that...
It's not who I thought it is. Wrong person. Terrence fucking Howard and Joe Rogan. Terrence Howard is actively lying to people currently and telling them that 1 times 1 doesn't equal 1. If you understood how the fucking numbers work, why the numbers are what they are and what they represent, you wouldn't buy into that. But kids who don't have a fucking clue, how many people repeated this? Let's just see.
That's what they forget.
70. It's a lot. Joe Rogan is controlled opposition, and he talks about a number of subjects, and he promotes shit like Terrence Howard. It's disgusting. It's deplorable. It's not okay. There's more Santos Bonacci, more Terrence Howard. There's, what is it, Jordan Maxwell. His real name was Russell Pine. Usually, primarily speaking, he would talk about etymology. Usually. Piece of shit. Worked for our masters. Zionist puppet. Nothing but proof. Case in point, look up Russell Pine and try to figure out where he took his last name Maxwell from. Why he did that. I still have not had anybody get back to me on that, and I've rattled that off for over 10 years. Nobody's been able to accomplish that goal, apparently. And or they just don't give a flying fuck because they have all this shit to repeat. Why do that when you have all of this entertainment? I mean, research. I mean, these are answers to reality, right? It's being circulated, right? Lots of people see this, so it must reflect reality. People are familiar with this. This is what you know. This is what you'll be shown in your feed where you're spoon-fed shit. I mean, information. It really does. It sums things up these days. It's pitiful. It's disgusting. And most people don't fucking care. Either way, what the fuck do I know? Thanks for hanging out.